Sadie Sink is Jean Grey. That's the headline coming out of Spider-Man. Brand new day. And it's a bigger deal than a simple casting announcement because of how the character is actually used in this film. Let's start with the movie itself, though. Visually, this is one of the best-looking entries in the entire Spider-Man franchise. The color work and cinematography are genuinely striking, and it leans on Tom Holland more than any prior film in his run, which pays off. I'd call it his strongest performance as the character yet, and honestly, the best live-action Spider-Man film since Spider-Man 2. Now, about Jean Grey. Going in, most people expected her to show up as a hero, maybe in a supporting capacity, laying groundwork for future X-Men projects. Instead, she's functionally the antagonist for a large portion of the runtime. That's a genuinely surprising choice, and not something I would have guessed a year or two ago. To be fair, she's not the real driving threat of the story. That would undercut everything she's clearly being built up to become. The true antagonist is Damage Control and their agenda to identify, monitor, and ultimately control superpowered individuals. Framing Jean this way, at least temporarily, lets the film explore what happens when someone with her level of power gets caught in that system before she's found her footing as a hero. That setup does a lot of heavy lifting for what's coming next. This film plants the seeds for the mutant saga. Mutants being tracked, exploited, feared, and legislated against. There's a genuinely quiet, effective scene where Jean and her sister, who shares similar abilities, talk about being abandoned by their mother, which grounds the mutants are seen as dangerous theme on a personal level rather than just a political one. The film also introduces mutant suppression technology tied to research from Bruce Banner and Peter Parker, tech that's almost certainly the precursor to the inhibitor collars we'll likely see later in the saga. So why debut all of this in a Spider-Man movie, and why keep the casting under wraps for so long? My guess is twofold. A Spider-Man release guarantees a massive audience, making it the ideal place to introduce mutants to casual viewers, and holding the reveal back kept people theorizing and talking in the run-up to release. And there was plenty of theorizing. Rumors that Sadie Sink would play Jean Grey had circulated for close to a year, tied to both this film and Avengers: Secret Wars, reportedly first surfacing through outlets like Deadline or Variety. I was skeptical at first, not because she wasn't a strong choice, but because a lot of the speculation seemed built entirely around her having red hair, which isn't exactly hard to change for a role. The real case for her, in my view, always came down to her range as an actor and the visibility she's built through Stranger Things. Fans floated other theories too. Rachel Summers, alternate timeline variants, none of which panned out. It's Jean Grey, straightforward as that. Where does this go from here? I think Sadie Sink's Jean Grey becomes one of the central figures of the MCU's mutant era, possibly more central than Xavier or Magneto in the earliest chapters. I could see the first true X-Men film focusing on Jean tracking down other mutants and quietly assembling the group before it's even called the X-Men, with Xavier and Magneto appearing later, and given their age relative to this younger cast, likely having operated in secrecy for years already. A Secret Wars continuity reset could easily support that. Mutants existing for a while but staying hidden from the wider public, similar to how the original Fox timeline didn't have mutants become broadly known until years after they first appeared. This film even hints at that political tension directly, with an outspokenly anti-mutant senator in the mix. As for the performance itself, Sink is excellent, convincing as both the antagonist and the hero the character is meant to become, which isn't an easy needle to thread. Jean Grey is one of the more complex figures in the X-Men roster, and this role clearly sets up a possible future Phoenix arc. Given that past film adaptations of that storyline haven't landed well, I'd rather see the character established as a hero first, over a long stretch of films, so that if Phoenix ever comes back, it actually carries weight instead of feeling rushed. That covers my take on Sadie Sink stepping into Jean Grey, a strong performance in a role I didn't see coming, with a lot riding on it for where the MCU's mutant storyline goes next. Spoiler review is coming soon, where I'll get into the post-credits scene and everything else worth unpacking, right here on Unfold With You. Make sure you're subscribed so you catch it.